Hi, in this tutorial we are going to learn how to grab an asset, a game object, from the asset store, how to apply an animation and sound effects to the game object, and also how to apply particle effects to the game object as well. To start, we need the bare minimum of environments for our object, so we're going to game object, 3D object, and plane. Make sure position and rotation are at all 0. Our position is not at all 0, so change that. And after that, go to the transform tool for scale and scale up your plane. This will allow for more working space. And if we haven't already, import the terrain assets from your package that comes with Unity. Just go to Assets, Import Package, and go to Terrain Assets, which is down here. I've already imported them, so go to Terrain Assets, Terrain Textures, and I have a small array of ground textures. I'm a fan of good dirt, so I'm going to use that. But as you notice, the area is still quite dark. So we're going to go to Game Object, Light, and add Directional Light. Directional light is a good substitute for, say, a sun. And let's just drag this up here in the air a bit. It's just basically a light that has a direction, but basically emanates from everywhere. So I'm going to change the direction of this light so that it changes, so that it comes from my direction and points to whatever I am looking at. So, say when I put in the chest, it will point at the front of the chest and illuminate it better. This will make looking at the graphics in the gameplay mode a lot easier. And I think that's about right. Okay, now we need to add the treasure chest. So you can find the treasure chest by going to the asset store. Just go to the search bar and type in treasure box. It should be the second result, classic treasure box. It's free, so go ahead and import that. I have it down here. When you get it, you will have an icon that has the full model. Just click and drag that onto the ground area. And I like to center it on the sage. While it's selected, go to Component, Physics, and add Mesh Collider. Also go to Select and make sure that the animation type is set to Legacy. When you first get this asset from the store, it'll be set to Generic. and you do not want this. You want it to be set to legacy, so apply legacy, then select your treasure box again, and go down to the animation component and uncheck play automatically. Now we can make the trigger. Actually, let's import another asset before we make the trigger. The asset we're importing is actually the sound asset. So it's in the PDF document, Sound Bible. It's open in casket sound, but it works pretty well for opening a treasure chest as well. So download the MP3, and once you download the MP3, go back to Unity, go to Assets, and import new asset, and just search for your file and bring it into Unity. Now we can make the box collider. So go to Game Object, 3D Object, Cube, and then adjust the dimensions of the cube to best suit you for the collider. I would make it slightly wider than the chest itself. Maybe about double width than its original width. And slightly taller than the original height. And that ought to be good enough. Go to the inspector view, and under box collider, select its trigger. Then under mesh renderer, uncheck, and you will have an invisible object right here that you can walk into, and it will give the appearance of just walking up to the treasure chest and it opening itself. So now we can bring in our first person character controller. As before, it's also an asset that came with Unity, so go to import package and import character controllers. Click and drag the first person character controller into Unity. Drag it out from being inside the ground, and let it hover a little bit above the ground. Otherwise, if it touches the ground or is a little below the ground, it will fall through the ground. And it looks like the camera is facing the opposite way that I want it to, so I am going to change the camera 180 degrees, and then just rotate the view to suit. And while I have it selected, I'm going to change this tag for the first person controller from untagged to player. And now, since we have two cameras in our scene, one on the player controller and one on the other side of our scene, we can go ahead and delete one of those. We want to delete the main camera, because having two cameras will just confuse the system. And now, let's see, the view from the character controller is good. So now we can make our JavaScript document. So go to Assets, Create, JavaScript. You can go over here and name it Chest Open. And then double click to open MonoDevelop, which is Unity's built-in text editor. Now this is what you see when it first comes up. We don't need the function update, so just get rid of that. And we're going to add some variables. First variable is a sound variable. Sound chest, and it is an audio clip. Our second variable is our treasure chest, and it is a game object. Our function is an onTrigger enter function, which means it reacts to an object or player entering the trigger area. So we see collision, provider, if collision dot game object, which is our collider, dot tag detects the player, make sure you have two equal signs there. And do the following things. We want the audio source to play, so audio source dot play clip at point dot not dot chest sound transform dot position, and we want the animation for the treasure box to play, so treasure box dot animation dot play, and put in the name of the animation, which is box open and close the if statement and save the file. Now drag this over to our cube, which you can rename Collider, or keep it named as cube if you want. And if this was done right, Hmm. Apparently I have an error. Ah, I mixed up my variable name. Instead of chest sound, I call it sound chest. So let's fix that real quick and save it. Check on Collider. And now we have two areas for us to drag our content into. Now chest sound, we drag our sound clip into. In treasure box, we drag our treasure box from our hierarchy window into. Do not drag the treasure box from your project window. Just drag the one from the hierarchy window. And now press play. Walk up to the treasure chest, and it opens. So now we can import a particle effect. So I could have made my own particle effect, but it's very time consuming and I did not get the effects I wanted, so I decided to visit the asset store. And I just went to particle systems and I grabbed the KY magic effects free. So out of the KY magic effects, I found that I liked the green core. So I'm going to drag it over here. And it's already placed itself really close to the treasure chest, so I'm just going to position it a little higher inside the treasure chest. Much like in an animation, scroll down and uncheck play on awake. And I don't like that spotlight effect, so I'm going to delete these point lights. There. And now we can add it to our script. So add another variable, green core, which is also a game object. Green core particle system. Emit, and then 5, which I found tends to extend the time for the particle system to emit, not by seconds like it does for a destruction or yield case, but I found that 5 was a good level, so I made that choice for the emission. And we're going to say this. Go back to Collider, and you notice there's now another slot for green core. So take green core and drag it over to this slot. And let's test it out. Ah, okay, here we go. And it opens. And this is our little effect. Now finally, if this one's optional, well, one of them's optional, one of them's good practice. And this involves JavaScript again. The first one is destroy game object, which is our collider. We don't want the collider to stay around because it would allow us to repeat the cycle of the animation opening, of the animation of the chest opening over and over again. So once it's done its job once, we want it to quit. So we're going to destroy the collider so it will not happen again. The second one, which is optional, is to destroy the chest. So destroy treasure box. And then, so it won't destroy right away. What you put afterwards is the amount of seconds from the beginning of the animation and the call, for how long until it self-destructs, basically. So I put 5 seconds, which seemed like a fair amount of time. And let's save this. And there it goes. So this is my tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's probably good practice to put in the green core and collider under treasure box. But other than that, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something from it. So have a good day, good night, good afternoon, and I will hope you benefit from this.